17 years, and he didn't even sit down. Travis, the new CFO, fresh pressed suit, shiny watch, smug little grin, walked into my office like he owned the place. Didn't knock, didn't smile, just dropped a paper on my desk like it was a sandwich receipt. Your 17 years are over. That was it. No context, no warning, just those 5 words. Like he was doing me a favor. Like I hadn't been the reason this company survived 3 recessions, 2 mergers, and a tough tariff war. I looked up at him, slow and steady. He didn't know who I was, not really. He saw a salary line and a gray hoodie, thought I was some quiet dinosaur clinging to a legacy system. Hell, I was the legacy system. I built it. Every damn projection, every just-in-time shipment, every quarterly win Callahan had patted itself on the back for, that was me. His tie still had a crease from the packaging. His shoes were too clean. Watch was big, but empty. A gift from rich parents or a graduation trophy from his little MBA factory. He hadn't earned anything yet, but he talked like a man with tenure. He waited for me to panic, or cry, or beg. Instead, I reached for my box. I'd already packed it. 1 travel mug, 3 pens, and the red stress ball Denise gave me during the last merger chaos. My travel mug said, "Bite me in Comic Sans." Felt appropriate. "Good luck with the quarterly numbers," I said, sliding the mug into the box. Travis blinked. "Security will escort you out." "Sure," I shrugged. "Let me log out first." He nodded like he'd won something. I didn't log out, because I didn't need to. Everything was already scheduled. Everything critical was encrypted and zipped. He thought he'd pulled the plug on a guy. He didn't realize he'd just pulled the plug on the system. Raymond from security met me at the elevator. Guy had walked me through a fire drill, and once shared half a meatball sub when I worked late during Q for hell. "You good?" he asked, eyes scanning mine. "Golden." We rode the elevator in silence. At the lobby, Denise from payroll caught my eye as I passed. She mouthed, "He's going to regret this." I didn't nod, didn't smile. I stepped out into the spring sunlight, box in hand, hoodie zipped up, and walked toward my car. I unlocked the car, tossed the box in the back seat, and just sat there for a second, hands on the wheel, watching a family cross the parking lot. Mom, Dad, 2 kids in soccer gear, probably going home to a hot dinner and a normal night. I wasn't mad, not yet. Just wired, like my brain couldn't tell if it should scream or laugh. I pulled out slow. Didn't look back until I hit the light by the freeway on-ramp. The Callahan building was still there, all glass and steel and fake prestige. I watched it shrink in my rear view as I merged onto I-90. Let it disappear. 17 years, 60-hour weeks, vending machine dinners, no sick days, no excuses. Quiet asset, they called me during one of the mergers. Translation, does everything, says nothing. I should have seen it coming. Quiet makes you easy to forget, easy to replace. But disposable didn't mean gone. The system, my system, was still running. Supply chain forecasts, vendor planning, hiring models, warehouse heat maps. All of it tied together by logic I built from scratch. No templates, no fancy software suite. Just formulas, scripts, custom-built connectors. It wasn't sabotage. I didn't booby-trap anything. I just never documented it in the shared wiki because no one asked. They only cared if the charts looked good. "Evan, can you tweak the lead time graph?" "Evan, why is labor up in region 4? Never once. "Hey, how does this actually work?" I knew how. Every cell, every flag, every trigger. That system had one failsafe. Something I added after a false positive spike nearly tanked a supplier contract back in 2017. If no authorized credential activity happened for 72 hours, it auto-locked. No warning, biometric-only reset, my fingerprint, my retinal scan, or a direct hardware token tied to my ID. And if anyone tried brute-forcing their way in before that window, the lockout triggered immediately. Redundant? Maybe, but efficient. Secure, bulletproof. By the time I got home, traffic was light. I parked, brought the box inside, left it on the kitchen table. My cat jumped up like it was a new throne and started sniffing the travel mug. I grabbed a cold soda from the fridge, cracked it open, and carried my laptop to the couch. At 3:12 p.m., just under an hour after I walked out, the first unauthorized access attempt hit the logs. Denied. I smiled, just barely. Not gloating, just settled, like seeing a fuse light. Countdown started. I didn't have to touch a thing. The scripts ran silently in the background. Every minute they kept trying, the system logged it. Device ID, location, hash mismatch. The clock ticked towards 72 hours. I refreshed the console. Another ping, another denial. They fired the engine thinking it was a cog. Now they were trying to drive without a steering wheel. I leaned back, took a sip of soda, and opened the logs in split screen. On the other half of the screen, I pulled up the weather. Supposed to snow again by morning. Perfect. By Sunday night, the logs looked like a kid pounding on the wrong garage code over and over. Monday morning, I woke up to a push alert. Another failed login attempt. Same endpoint, different machine. I poured my coffee, walked to the window, and watched the neighbor's dog bark at nothing, like it sensed something coming. By 9 a.m., Travis had sent out an all-hands email titled, "Streamlined Insights for Q2 Board Review." Streamlined, huh? Meanwhile, deep in my disaster recovery cloud, the one I'd spun up after the IT ransomware scare in 2020, the system was quietly logging their screw-ups like a digital security cam. Credential mismatch, model runtime error, unexpected formula behavior. Tickets were getting opened, escalated, slapped with high priority, and closed without resolution. It wasn't illegal monitoring. The backup was tied to my personal credential chain for exactly this reason. Nobody ever read the disaster recovery terms. They just said, "Evan, set it up." So I did. Right. That afternoon, a second-level support ticket mentioned unresponsive logic branches. That meant they tried to rewrite something, and the engine flat out ignored them. Like trying to slap a new battery in a locked phone. Tuesday, they held a finance sync. I streamed it on mute through a guest link I still had access to. They hadn't revoked a single one of my test profiles. Classic oversight. IT never bothered to scrub old sandbox accounts. Travis stood at the head of the conference table, whiteboard behind him, arms crossed like he had answers. I recognized the screen he was casting. Same dashboard I'd built with my own two hands. Only now it was flickering. He clicked a tab. Instead of live inventory deltas, the system spat out a bar chart from 2 quarters ago, then blinked red and crashed back to login. Silence in the room. One of the junior analysts, girl named Mia, I think, glanced around, nervous. The formulas seem off? She had that rising tone people use when they're scared to be right. Travis didn't even blink. We're moving away from legacy stuff. Some bugs are expected legacy, like the backbone of his entire job. The same logic that made his polished slide decks look so damn smart in the first place. He clicked again. The screen froze, then rebooted. Blank. Someone off camera muttered, "Is that supposed to happen?" The logs on my end ticked forward. Unauthorized variable override attempt. Denied. Invalid data injection. Rejected. Root script access. Unauthorized. They were swinging hammers at a locked vault. Every few minutes, another failed access pinged my backup like a polite little doorbell. Ding. Denied. Repeat. By Tuesday evening, they were trying workarounds. CSV exports, old Excel backups, even digging through saved PowerPoints. But they couldn't replicate the forecast engine, because it didn't live in a file. It lived in layers, logic trees, real-time APIs, behavior-linked variables. And none of it worked without me. By Wednesday morning, they'd stopped pretending the system was working. I saw it in the logs. They'd given up on real access and started copy-pasting screenshots into PowerPoint decks like it was 2009. Travis even pulled a projection slide from last year's Q4 meeting and dropped it into a new file, slapped a new date on it, and called it a forecast. It was like watching someone pretend their car worked by taping a picture of a speedometer to the dash. Slack traffic picked up. I wasn't on it anymore, obviously, but one of my sandbox bots still got pinged occasionally when someone used an old tag or command, and I started seeing the whispers. Why does the system keep showing Evan's name? Anyone know how to update projections manually? Wasn't he the one who built all this? No one said it out loud yet, not in meetings, but I could feel it building, the slow realization that they hadn't replaced me. They'd amputated the brain stem and hoped the body would walk. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, watching my neighbor across the street fight with a snowblower, fresh dusting overnight, thick enough to clump, wet enough to jam the chute. He kicked it, swore, tried again. Felt familiar. They were still trying to pretend it was a software issue, a glitch, a hiccup, something they could fix with the right contractor or some plug-in off GitHub. Travis hadn't called, not once, which told me he was still spinning his narrative, probably telling the board it was legacy friction or unexpected architecture variance. Whatever fake MBA buzzwords he leaned on to sound like he had control. But the clock was loud now. Less than 24 hours until the Thursday board meeting. Less than 24 hours until someone would stand up and ask a very simple question. Where is the forecast? I finished my coffee and opened the console. 3,422 failed login attempts since Monday afternoon. Every one of them logged with timestamp, device ID, and that same denial stamp with my name on it. Someone on Slack typed, "Does anyone have his contact info?" Another replied, "Pretty sure legal told us not to reach out." Cowards. The truth was obvious. It wasn't the software. It wasn't the formulas. It wasn't the permissions. It was me. They fired the one guy who knew how it all worked. And now, the whole thing was locked so tight, not even their own CTO could pry it open without melting 15 years of logic and real-time behavior mapping. The boardroom was coming. The reckoning was coming. Tick, tock. Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Sharp. Callahan's top floor boardroom. Glass walls, leather chairs, untouched carafes of coffee lined up like props. A half-eaten bagel sat on a napkin beside someone's tablet. Phones face down, eyes darting. The big screen on the wall flickered once, then went black. Then the message flashed in white block letters across a black background. Access denied. Authorized architect, Evan Marks. My name, dead center, Helvetica, bold, no mistaking it. Franklin, old school board member, Navy vet with a gravel voice that could crack concrete, leaned forward. Where are the projections? Travis, standing at the far end of the room in a tailored gray suit, 2 sizes too flashy, cleared his throat. We're experiencing a minor hiccup with outdated permissions, he said. It happens all the time in transitions. Nothing critical. He clicked his laptop. Up popped a Frankenstein slide. Mismatched fonts, recycled charts, a heat map that didn't match the legend. It looked like a high school group project glued together at 2 a.m. This isn't the model, someone said flatly. On Zoom, a remote board member narrowed his eyes. Why does the denial message have his name on it? Outdated metadata, Travis said too fast. The system wasn't fully updated post-transition. In the background, someone from IT leaned into a mic, voice clipped and low. We've attempted every authorized override. Encryption is bound to biometric access, fingerprint and retinal scan. We can't extract the behavioral engine without a full system wipe. Franklin frowned. Which means what exactly? We'd be running blind, the IT guy said. No trends, no risk flagging, no automated forecasting, just raw data and guesswork. Phones buzzed, heads turned, side conversations started firing off like popcorn. Did legal approve his termination? Who even signed off on this? Do we have his number? Travis raised his hands. This was part of a strategic restructuring initiative. You mean gutting the guy who built the company's brain? Someone shot back. Travis shifted. The system was due for modernization. We had vendors lined up. You had nothing lined up, Franklin snapped. You thought you could boot a core engineer without backup or handoff and bluff your way through Q2? More buzzes. Laptops opened. Slack lit up. One of the assistants held up her phone and whispered, "He's trending on Reddit. People are calling him the Oracle of Cleveland." Back at home, I sat in sweatpants, finishing the corner of a 3,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, picture of a jazz club. Tiny saxophones, real pain in the ass. My phone vibrated again, 3rd time in 10 minutes. Private number. I let it buzz on the table, untouched. In the boardroom, someone finally asked it. Why didn't we keep him on retainer? Silence. Then, Franklin again, steady and cold. I want to know who signed the paperwork to terminate him, and I want to know why his name is still holding our system hostage 48 hours before earnings. Travis swallowed. We had internal approval from the CFO office. You are the CFO, someone said. You approved your own move? The CEO, silent until now, finally stood up. We're not resolving this here. Clear the room. Legal stays. So does IT. Everyone else out. Chairs scraped. Coffee stayed untouched. Travis didn't move. The CEO turned to him, voice flat. That denial screen is going to be in every board packet from now until we answer for it. My phone vibrated again. This time, I let it. Phone buzzed again. Private number. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked up. Yeah. Evan, a low voice said, clipped and steady. It's Richard? The CEO. He didn't introduce himself like I didn't know. He also didn't waste time. This isn't protocol, he said. But protocol isn't working. No kidding. He exhaled into the line. Not a sigh, more like pressure leaking from a cracked valve. I could hear chatter behind him, muffled voices, shuffling papers, someone asking for a charger. The board's still here, he said. No one's left the room. The only thing they've managed to pull from the model since 9 this morning is your name in red with access denied. Explain. I let that hang for a beat. That depends, I said. Do you want a quick fix, or do you want the problem gone for good? Silence, then a quiet. I'm listening. I stood up from the puzzle table, walked to the window, looked out across the dark street. Porch lights on. Someone's kid practicing free throws in a hoodie. Full reinstatement, I said. Same title. Same system access. Same decision-making authority. He didn't say no. Direct reporting line to you, I continued. Not Travis. Not through a chain of 7 middle managers trying to optimize things they don't understand. Still nothing. No objections. And compensation, I added. Reflecting the fact that your entire supply chain predictive logic is locked in a box with my fingerprint on it. That's when I heard it, the soft chuckle, just a breath of it. Fair enough, he said. In the background, someone whispered, Is that him? Papers shuffled. A pen dropped. I pictured them all, huddled around a Polycom speaker, realizing they weren't the ones in control. Richard's voice dropped a note. Can you get us back up before morning? I could have had you back up Tuesday, I said, but you let the new kid play CEO. He's already under review, Richard said. The boards aligned. Of course they were. They just sat through a 10-hour meeting without a single valid forecast. I'm not interested in being somebody's emergency parachute, I told him. If I come back, it's not temporary. I build. I lead. I decide what gets modernized and what stays, and I don't answer to a 34-year-old intern with a necktie addiction. You'll report to me, he said, and only me. Then I'll unlock the system first thing tomorrow. He paused. And Evan, the backup system, the cloud mirror, encrypted, private, redundant as hell. I'll port it all back in once my credentials are live. Another beat of silence. I'll have legal draw it up within the hour, he said. Do that. I hung up first, let it click dead in his ear. Then I walked back to the table, dropped into my chair, and popped the last corner piece of the jazz club puzzle into place. Next morning, I didn't dress for a comeback. No suit, no tie, just slacks, a dark gray sweater, and the same boots I'd worn the day they canned me. No reason to strut. I wasn't here to prove anything. I was the proof. I pushed through the lobby doors like I had every day for 17 years. The receptionist, new girl, probably 6 months in, blinked twice. Is someone expecting you? They are now. Elevator ride was silent. 5th floor. Same ding, same smell of burnt coffee from the shared break room. But the hallway was buzzing like a hornet's nest. Phones to ears, people speaking in half whispers. They saw me, didn't say a word, but nobody looked surprised. I stepped into the boardroom. Travis sat at the far end, pale as printer paper, hands folded on top of an empty notepad. Jacket off, shirt wrinkled. Looked like he hadn't slept. The CEO stood. Thank you for coming. I nodded once, walked to the far side of the table, and opened my laptop. No words wasted. I connected to the projector. The system diagram loaded instantly, full screen, sharp and clean. I clicked once, a second screen opened, the audit log. After a breach attempt in 2019, I bound the core logic to biometric credentials, mine. Because I was the only one trained to recalibrate it without corrupting live data, I turned the screen toward the room. 23 failed access attempts, time-stamped and traceable to specific machines. I didn't lock you out, I said. You did. When you terminated me with no handoff plan, no transition, no idea what you were unplugging. Silence. Chairs creaked, eyes shifted. Someone down the table asked, "Who authorized his termination?" Heads turned. Every single one of them swiveled toward Travis. "It was a standard restructuring," he said, voice dry. "We were trimming inefficiencies." The CEO's tone dropped a level. "That was never approved at the board level. And you didn't brief me." Another board member leaned in. "So you cut the guy who built our forecasting infrastructure to hit some imaginary headcount goal?" I clicked again. 2 emails popped up on screen. Subject lines, successor training plan, proposal and system handoff timeline draft. "Both sent," I said. "Both ignored, marked as not urgent." Nobody defended him, not one word. The CEO exhaled through his nose. "This is done." Travis stood like he was going to say something, opened his mouth, closed it, then picked up his notepad and turned to leave. He almost made it to the door. "Actually, Travis," the CEO said, "you're finished." Effective immediately legal came in with a beige envelope. No yelling, no HR jargon. Just the quiet thud of a career slamming shut. I didn't flinch. Just clicked another key. The dashboard loaded. Real-time metrics blooming to life. Revenue arcs, inventory delta, regional burn. All smooth, all accurate. The board exhaled like they'd been holding their breath since Monday. The CEO turned to me. "We owe you a proper conversation." A different board member added, "Direct line to the CEO. Whatever you need to keep this running." I nodded, closed my laptop, then walked to the head of the table, the seat Travis had claimed all week. I sat down, calm, steady. "Let's get those quarterly reports done, shall we?" Heads nodded, no applause, just respect. Earned,